Welcome to Pam Branch Designs. Today I'm going to make two projects from the same decoupage paper. So get ready. In this project I'm using two 4-inch by 6-inch frames that I bought from the Dollar Tree. On the first project I'm going to use the frame pretty much as is, and then in the second project I'm going to do what's called a reverse canvas. If you're interested in purchasing this or some of my other decoupage papers, please visit pambranchdesigns.com. Please also feel free to join my Facebook decoupage group. The links are below. For both projects, I'm going to paint the canvas white first. I'm going to be using white chalk paint. While I'm waiting for the first canvas to dry, I'm going to prep my second canvas. I'm going to remove the plastic, and I'm also going to take the canvas off of the frame. And I'm going to do that by using my knife to cut the canvas away from the wooden frame that is the base of the canvas. I'm going to do it right along the outside of the staples. You can remove the staples and then remove the canvas, but I'm not going to go through removing the staples when I can just cut the canvas away and then use the canvas for my project. Now that the canvas is removed from the frame, I'm going to use the frame as the outer frame for the canvas. As I did for the other canvas, I'm going to first paint it white. While I'm waiting for both of those canvases to finish drying, I'm going to prep the frame for the second project. What I'm going to do is remove some of the excess canvas from the back. You don't have to, but I decided to, so it just wouldn't be, extra canvas on the back. And then sanding the frame with a sanding block that I bought at the Dollar Tree. And then after sanding, I'm going to do some staining of the frame with some stain that I bought at Hobby Lobby. If you'd like, you can paint the frame or you can leave it plain. The stain that I'm using, I bought at Hobby Lobby. I had several to pick from. I decided to use maple because I felt it complemented the project the best. I just put some in a palette that I bought at the Dollar Tree and using an old rag, and I made sure I wore some gloves and then just covered the frame with the stain, making sure that I got it on all the parts that we're going to be showing. Now I'm waiting for the frame to dry, so I'm going to go back to the first project, the project where I'm using the frame as is, and I'm going to decoupage the paper onto the frame. Now I'm going to first position it, make sure I have it lined up correctly, and then I'm going to use the wet Mod Podge to apply the paper to the canvas. I made this paper with this specific project in mind, the 4x6 frame, and I made it so that it would wrap around the side of the frame so that the sides wouldn't be just left white or in need of paint or some other embellishment. Depending on your frame, it may or may not fit exactly, but it should wrap around the sides of the frame if it's the same basic dimensions as the one from the Dollar Tree. Now that I have the paper positioned the way I want it on the canvas, I'm going to make sure I hold it down securely and lift up the edge as I apply the Mod Podge or whatever decoupage glue you're using to the canvas. Once I apply the decoupage glue to the canvas, then I'm going to adhere the paper to it. I'm going to do it in small sections at a time so that I can make sure that the paper is adhered correctly and so that there's no bubbles and wrinkles. I try to use a minimal amount of glue because I feel like if you use a lot of glue, then you're more likely to get wrinkles and bubbles. I personally like to use my fingers to press the paper down onto the glue. I always make sure that my hands are clean and dry so that I don't smudge or cause damage to my paper. After I have the paper adhered, I can still use my fingers, but you can also use saran wrap or some other plastic wrap to smooth your paper down over your glue. Now I'm going to work on the sides. As I stated, I made this paper big enough so that it should be able to cover the sides of the frame. So I'm going to apply some decoupage glue and then fold it over onto the side. Once I do the two sides that are opposite each other first, I then will use my scissors to just cut a slit in the paper so that I can fold the paper down over the other sides of the canvas. Be careful that when you're working on the sides of your frames that you're not resting it on the other side of the frame on your work surface, because you don't want to create wrinkles in your project. Once I do that first side, then I go to the opposite and do the same thing. I cut a little slit in the paper along the same edge as the corner of the canvas, and then I use my decoupage glue and glue that little tab down on both sides, and then the longer piece gets folded over those two little square tabs. Now there's going to be some excess paper on the back of the frame, so you can either cut that off or you can glue it over the sides so that it is over the back of the frame. It's really up to you. All right, so we're almost done with this first frame and it's looking pretty good. So now we'll go back to that first frame and we're going to work on that canvas first. So on the first project, we used wet decoupage glue to apply the paper to the canvas. But on the second project, with the second canvas, we are using the iron-on method. So basically, we're putting down 1 or 2 layers of Mod Podge and then ironing on the paper to the canvas. The heat from the iron reactivates the Mod Podge so that it adheres the paper to the canvas. What I'm using is the Cricut Easy Press, but what you can use is a household iron on the highest setting, and then you would make sure that the steam is turned off. You can test it first and see which temperature works best on your iron, but it's my understanding that the highest heat on your iron is the best one to use. Make sure that you use a piece of parchment paper between your project and the heat source. Please keep in mind that I did not record the drying time before I used the iron-on method, but I waited about 20-30 minutes. And now I'm applying the Mod Podge over the top of the canvas after it's cooled down in order to seal in the image. All right, so now I'm going back to the first canvas and I'm applying a layer of Mod Podge over the top of that to seal it. Now that the frame is dry, I'm going to apply a coat of Mod Podge to seal in the stain. Now that the frame is completely dry, I'm going to position that over the canvas and then attach it to the back of the frame. And I'm going to use thumbtacks. I could use a staple gun, but because I left some of the staples in the back of the frame, I'm just going to use thumbtacks because I feel like that will be the easiest way to adhere it. And it is a pretty small frame, and I don't think that the canvas is likely to move or shift if I just use the thumbtacks. I'm just going to use my hammer to just lightly tap the thumbtacks in. It doesn't take a lot of force, so please be careful. You don't want to hit your finger. Now that I have the frame secured to the canvas, I'm going to just cut away the excess. Now you can certainly use the regular picture hanging hardware that you can get in the stores to hang your canvas. I'm just using some thumbtacks and some fishing line because that's what I have here on hand, and I'm going to use that to hang my canvas. Now if I wanted to hang the other canvas, I probably could just by using 2 thumbtacks and some fishing line on the back of the frame, but I'm just going to lean it on some books on my bookshelf. That's how I intend to display it, so I'm not going to be putting on any hanging hardware. Okay, well the projects are done and they are ready to be displayed. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. Please be sure to like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you'd like to watch more videos, and click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. Also, keep in mind there's a link below for my Facebook Decoupage group where I have more videos, more projects using my papers. So I hope to see you there.